Dear students, all of you know that there are several theoretical perspectives in sociology. Among these perspectives, functionalism is one of the oldest theoretical perspectives. It is still dominant perspective in social sciences. According to functionalism, each aspect of society is interdependent and contributes to society functioning as a whole. Effective functioning of various social institutions produce order, stability and productivity. All social institutions have certain specific functions which contribute to the survival of the social system. Society performs the various functions for its welfare, like our body performs different functions for its survival. Effective functioning of society brings equilibrium and it increases social harmony. The different parts of each society contribute positively to the operation. It explains the relationship of different parts of the system. These parts are working together in an orderly manner. These parts are moving towards equilibrium. While these parts are functioning, they tend to bring changes. Change tends to be orderly and evolutionary. As changes occurs, these parts are becoming differentiated. So, entire society is becoming more complex by creating more institutions to fulfill its new needs. One of the features of function is its inequality. Functional theorists emphasize that a certain degree of inequality is required for the functioning. Inequality is introduced by giving rewards in the form of income, status, prestige, power to the people. The whole society is functioning through division of labor, which increases the interdependence. It accelerates the functions of various parts of the society. Functions are those activities which are helping to sustain the social system. If social system is to survive and perform effectively, certain functional prerequisites are necessary. For example, role allocation and performance is one functional requisite. For effective role allocation and performance, some mechanism is required. Social stratification is used as a device to achieve this. Functionalists analyze more focus on individual and they consider the individual or decision makers. Many sociologists like Auguste Comte, Emile Durkheim, Herbert Spencer, Talcott Parsons, Robert Merton and anthropologists like Radcliffe Brown and Malinowski have adopted functional approach to study social phenomena. Though many thinkers have dealt with functionalism, I would like to focus the contributions made by Talcott Parsons, Robert Merton and Malinowski. First, let me explain Parsons' view on functionalism. Talcott Parsons is an eminent thinker in modern sociological thought. He was born in Colorado in America in the year 1902. He had his specialized education in the prestigious London School of Economics under the renowned professors like R. H. Dhoni, Maurice Kinberg, Malinowski and Harold Lasky. He was influenced by the writings of Karl Marx and Max Weber in the later stages of his career. He had formulated the concepts of social action and social systems. He had also translated in English the famous work of Weber titled The Protestant Ethics and the Spirit of Capitalism. Some of his major works are Structures of Social Action, Social System and Economy and Society. As a social thinker, he wanted to evolve a concept that can be adapted to all countries at all times. He was concerned with the problem of social order. Now, let me describe the functional theories of Talcott Parsons. People's cooperation and social integration is mainly through action. According to Parsons, basis of social action is termed as voluntarism. Individuals act on the basis of their values and their actions are oriented and constrained by values and norms, and these norms are the basis of social order. In his Structure of Social Actions, Parsons had advocated an analytical realism in building sociological theory. He says that theory must utilize limited number of important concepts only to enable an ordinary individual to grasp varied aspects of the structure of the external world. The unique feature of Parsons' analytical realism is that the way he explains the abstract concepts in sociological analysis. Parsons believes that the theory should resemble an elaborate classification and categorization of social phenomena. He says that empirical world reveals fundamental properties that can be isolated and studied. He views that the social universe displays the systemic features that must be parallel ordering abstract concepts. He had also assumed about the voluntaristic nature of the social world. Here we come to analyze the voluntaristic theory of social action. It is useful attempt to understand the thesis comprising the concepts of utilitarianism, positivism and idealism. He feels that the utilitarian heritage continued to influence the sociological theory. Based on these concepts, Parsons had formulated a functional social organization. Voluntaristic action includes three basic elements, namely 1. Actors who are individuals, 2. They are goal seekers, and 3. They are in possession of alternative means to achieve their goals. He says that they are confronted with a variety of situational conditions that influence the selection of goals and means. They appear to be governed by the norms, values and ideals of the society in achieving their goals. In this process, they are conditioned by the subjective decision making. Parsons sums up that structure of social system must be derived from the actor situation combined. He feels that a functional analysis of the complications brought in by the interactions of very many actors. From this basis, he proceeds to develop a complex functional scheme from the stage of voluntaristic unit action. He has also emphasized at the same time the systemic properties of action. The next theory conceptualized by Parsons was the social system. For this, he has drawn inspiration from Max Weber. He views that the actors are oriented to situations in terms of motives and values. There are three types of motives, namely cognitive, cathective and evaluative in nature. There are three forms of corresponding values, namely cognitive, appreciative and morals. These were called by Parsons as modes of orientation. There can be three types of action, namely instrumental, expressive and moral. Depending upon the modes of motivational and value orientation, the actor will act in one of the basic ways. Thus, the unit acts involve motivation and value orientations and have a general direction for choosing a particular combination of values and motives. When actors with a different moods and values interact, they come to develop agreements and sustain the pattern of interactions. This becomes institutionalized. Parsons says that such an institutional pattern is conceptualized as a social system. Parsons states that the actors who are engaged in various functions are motivationally value oriented. The conceptualization of an action is composed of the three interpenetrating action systems. They are cultural, social and personality. Parsons' goal of action theory explains how institutionalized patterns of interaction are composed of complexes of values, beliefs, norms and other ideas. In this context, Parsons introduces the notions of functional requisites for each of these basic components of action. He views integration within and among the action system as a basic requirement. He says that there should be two functional requisites, namely a good number of actors adequately motivated to act and the avoidance of cultural patterns by the social systems. Parsons views institutionalization both a process and a structure. Parsons says that the social system is not a whole society, they are only subsystems of the larger systemic wholes. A total society is made up of a large system is composed of interrelated institutions. Parsons talks about pattern variables which allow for the categorization of the modes of orientation in personality system and others. First set of pattern variables are affectivity versus affective neutrality. In affectivity, the interaction is based on emotions involved among the members of the group. Mostly it can be seen among the members of primary group such as family. The affective neutrality is seen in a secondary group like a bureaucracy in which individuals may be devoid of emotions. Second set of pattern variables are diffuses versus specificity. In diffused form of contact, the relationship is extensive. For example, parent-child relationship is more diffused form of contact. The relationship among friends is another example. We rely on friends for a broad range of support and activities. In specificity, social contacts are more formal and interaction is based on specified obligation. For example, in a bureaucracy, social relationships are very specific. We meet some people for particular reason associated with their status. Third set of pattern variables are particularism versus universalism. In particularism, the reaction is on the basis of someone's particular relationship to you. A particular relation is one that is with a specific individual. The relationship between father and son is particular. In contrast, under universalism, the reaction is on the basis of a general norm. For example, in a bureaucratic setup, there is a universal form of relationship. Here everyone is to be treated impartially and there is no scope for favoritism or particularism. Fourth set of pattern variables are ascription versus achievement. Ascription refers to qualities of individual and often inborn qualities such as sex, age, race, family status, etc. Achievement refers to performance and it emphasizes individual achievement. Fifth and final set of pattern variables are self-orientation versus collective orientation. Self-interest is associated with any action when people aim for individual benefits, but under collectivity, shared interest is associated with any action when individuals pursue a collective form of action and group welfare is given more importance. Through the above set pattern variables, Parsons explains how people relate to situations they face, the type of orientation they have and interpret meaning in social action. In short, Parsons tells us the structure of the personality and the social system is a reflection of the dominant patterns of value orientation in our culture. According to him, the social systems are penetrated by the personality and circumscribed by culture. This can be explained in terms of concepts called pattern variables. These variables capture the different properties in each of these components of action. For integration of personality systems into social systems to promote equilibrium, Parsons has conceptualized two mechanisms, namely mechanisms of socialization and mechanisms of social control. Regarding as to how the cultural patterns contribute the maintenance of social order and equilibrium, Parsons says that some components of culture help the interaction, and also an influence of culture on interaction is brought out though the substance of ideas contained in cultural patterns. Next, I would like to focus on theories of Robert K. Merton, who is contemporary of Talcott Parsons. Robert K. Merton was born in 1910 at Philadelphia. As a graduate of Temple University, he became the student of Sorokin. He was highly influenced by the Parsonian fundamental perspective. After being awarded PhD in 1936, he joined the faculty there. He recommended focusing on the development of theories of the middle range. He accepted the framework of social action theory from Max Weber. He was influenced by W. I. Thomas in his interpretation of social situation. He has formulated his thoughts in the Parsonian school of thought. The writings of Karl Marx and Georg Simmel were also influencing his thought process. His theories are explained as follows. Merton has given his theoretical model through Paradigm for Functional Analysis in Sociology. As an initial and tentative step in the direction of codifying functional analysis in sociology, he had formulated a paradigm of the concepts and problems central to his theory. The paradigm presents the kernel of his concept, procedure, and inference in functional analysis. The paradigm represents a codification of those concepts and problems. It offers a critical scrutiny of current research and theory in functional analysis. The various concepts related to the functional model can be discussed as follows. 1. The factors that orient functions. The objects of analysis represent standardized aspects such as social roles, institutional patterns, social processes, cultural patterns, culturally patterned emotions, social norms, group organization, social structure devices for social control, etc. 2. Subjective motives and purposes. Functional analysis explicitly operates with some conception of motivation of individuals involved in a social system. These concepts are subjective disposition. 3. Functions and dysfunctions. Functions are those observed consequences which make the adaptation or adjustment of a given system. Dysfunctions are those observed consequences which lessen the adaptation or adjustment of the system. Manifest functions are those objective consequences contributing to the adjustment or adaptation of the system. These are intended and recognized by participants in the system. Latent functions are those which are neither intended nor recognized. The unit subserved by the function. Merton views that it is necessary to consider a range of units for which the factor has specific consequences and presents in different statuses, subgroups, larger social system and cultural systems. 5. Functional needs and prerequisites. It comprises the problem of setting various types of functional requirements and procedures for validating the assumption of the above needs. 6. Mechanisms fulfilling the functions. Merton says that functional analysis in sociology provides a comprehensive description of the mechanisms which operate to perform a particular function like role segmentation, ritual and ceremonial performances. 7. Functional equivalents and substitutes. Functional equivalents and substitutes are explained by Merton in terms of functional alternatives. 8. Structural constraints. According to Merton, the choice of substitutes and equivalents in a social structure is limited. The constraints in social structure limit the effective possibilities of change of functional alternatives. 9. Dynamics and change. Merton states that functional analysis tends to focus on the statics of social structure and neglect the study of structural change. The concept of dysfunction provides an analytical approach to the study of dynamics and change. 10. Problems of validation. In analyzing the functional paradigm, Merton emphasizes often to the specific points at which assumptions, imputations and observations must be validated. It requires a systematic analysis of pros and cons of comparative analysis. Number 11. Problems of the ideological implications. Merton does not agree that particular functional analysis and hypothesis advanced by functionalists may have an identifiable ideological role. He views that it becomes a specific problem for the sociology of knowledge and to ascertain the social position of the functional sociologist. We have seen that Merton's description on various concepts related to functional paradigm. Let us see the purpose of the paradigm. The paradigm presents a provisional guidance for understanding the functional analysis. It provides as an aid in locating the distinctive contributions and deficiencies of earlier researchers. Secondly, the paradigm leads directly to the postulates and assumptions underlying functional analysis. Thirdly, the paradigm seeks to provide knowledge on the scientific, political and ideological implications of various types of functional analysis. Merton analyzes the function through anomic theory also. According to Durkheim, the term anomy refers to a situation in which cultural norms break down because of rapid change, but Merton says that the term anomy refers to a situation in which there is a gap between cultural norms and the goals of the individuals. Normally, people expect the joint operation between cultural goals and institutional norms. An effective equilibrium between these two is maintained so long as individuals conform to both and satisfy with the result. If some individuals are not satisfied with the result, they will work for the change in the goals as well as norms. It has to affect the conformity to the existing cultural goals and institutional norms. According to Merton, people can adapt 5 modes in anomy situation. These 5 modes of adaptation are 1. Conformity, 2. Innovation, 3. Ritualism, 4. Retreatism and 5. Rebellion. In conformity, people accept both norms and goals. In innovation, people break rules in order to achieve the success the goals. The third type of adaptation is ritualism, in which people reject the cultural goal and conform to the institutional norms. In the mode of retreatism, people reject both cultural goals and institutional means. The final adaptation is rebellion, in which when people reject the goal and means, they also try to provide new goals and means in their place. Next, we are going to see contribution made by Bronislaw Malinowski, who is well-known anthropologist. Malinowski was born in 1884 in Poland. He had earned a doctorate in anthropology in 1922 and started to teach in the London School of Economics. He was one of the best known anthropologists in the world. He conducted his field work among the tribal people in Trobriand Islands. It is considered one of the best ethnographic studies, and he is renowned as one of the anthropology's most skilled ethnographers. He emphasized the importance of detailed participation observation method in social science research. Malinowski has contributed for the development of structural functionalism in anthropology. Regarding functionalism, he viewed that culture functions to meet the needs of individuals rather than society as a whole. He explained that when needs of individuals are fulfilled, and then needs of society are also fulfilled. He suggested that Individuals have physiological needs and social institutions help to fulfill them. He also said that there are also culturally derived needs. He viewed that culture is always instrumental to the satisfaction of organic needs. He expressed that society as structured into a working unity has various parts. These parts of society accommodate one another in a way that maintains the whole. The function of one element of culture is the contribution it makes to the maintenance of the entire system of which it is a part. According to Malinowski, culture is essentially an instrumental apparatus. It helps the people to cope with problems in their environment when they try to satisfy their needs. It is a system of objects, activities and attitudes. The various elements of culture are interdependent. Cultural activities are organized into various vital institutions. Culture can be analyzed in various aspects such as education, social control, economics, belief and morality. Malinowski viewed the social institution as a social system. Institutions differ from one another because they are organized to serve different functions. Every culture can be understood in its own terms. Every institution of a society is a byproduct of its culture. Malinowski says that customs, ideas, language and cultural elements serve the biological and physiological needs. According to him, various aspects of culture are functional because they fulfill the biological and psychological needs of human beings, which is known as functionalism. He emphasized that existence of customs and social institutions should be interpreted in terms of their functions. For example, rituals in religion are considered important because they fulfill the social and psychological needs. It allowed them to feel a sense of power and prestige. Malinowski pointed out that religion is helpful in times of stress. During the time of stress, an individual is surrounded by religious rituals. In the event of death, religion is helpful since the funeral offers hope of life after death and provides comfort for the relieved. Here, religion maintains social stability and promotes social harmony. Malinowski's functionalism reoriented Spencer's approach. It offered a way for modern sociologists to employ functional analysis. Malinowski's scheme emphasized two important ideas from Spencer: one, the notion of system levels, and two, the concept of different and multiple system needs at each level. In Malinowski's scheme, there are three system levels: the biological, the social structural and the symbolic. They are explained in the following way. Malinowski speaks of the requisites of system levels. At biological level, the universal institutions of marriage and family are functioning. They are accounted for major functions such as regulating the mating and maintaining the racial purity. At the cultural or symbolic system level, there are some requisites. They are requisites for systems of symbols that provide information necessary to adjust to the environment. They provide a sense of control over people's destiny and over chance of events. They also provide members of a society with a sense of communal rhythm in their daily lives and activities. He then describes structural or instrumental systems level as requisites for production and distribution of consumer goods, social control of behavior and its regulation, education of people in traditions and skills, organization and execution of authority relations. At each of these levels, one can recognize basic needs or survival requisites, namely biological, health, social structural integrity and cultural unity. These systems levels constitute a hierarchy with biological system at the bottom, social structural arrangements next, and symbolic system at the highest level. Malinowski stressed that the way in which needs are met at one system level sets constraints on how they are met at the next level in the hierarchy. He thought that each system level reveals its own distinctive requisites and processes meeting these needs. Also, he argued that the important system levels for sociological or anthropological analysis are structural and symbolic. In analyzing the structural system level, Malinowski stressed that institutional analysis is necessary. He views that institutions are the general and relatively stable ways in which activities are organized to meet critical requisites. All institutions have certain universal properties that can be listed and then used as dimensions for comparing different institutions. These universal elements are personnel, purpose and goal, norms, material apparatus, activity and function. The above 6 universal elements deal with people who participate in the institution, the purpose of the institution, key norms that regulate people's conduct, nature of tools and facilities used in the regulation of people's conduct, division of activities and the type of needs fulfilled by the institution. By describing each institution along these 6 dimensions, Malinowski believed that he had provided a common analytical yardstick for comparing patterns of social organization within and between societies. He has constructed a list of universal institutions which resolve structural, biological and symbolic requisites. Malinowski's functional approach, which was similar to Spencer's concepts, opened new possibilities for sociologists. He had stated that system levels are critical in analyzing requisites. He felt that there are universal requisites for each system level. He strongly reiterated that the structural level is the essence of sociological analysis. He had propounded 4 universal functional needs at this level: economic adaptation, political authority, educational socialization and social control, which were to be prominent in subsequent functional schemes. He had provided a clear method for analyzing institutions as they operate to meet functional requisites. Malinowski paved the way for the formulation of modern sociological functionalism.